please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. We have a couple presentations before we get into the public hearing on the budget today. And our first one is a recap of a recent student trip to Italy. And so I will turn it over to Manuela Stefanelli to describe the trip. And I think you have some students with you here as well. Sure, yeah.
Should I lower it? Okay. All right, so I'm not really good at this, but before I introduce my wonderful students, I would like to thank the Board of Ed again for approving the trip, because otherwise it would have never happened. Also, I would like to thank the parents for entrusting the children with us, myself and my wonderful colleague, Ms. Rosa Portaro, who was a great help in organizing the trip and going along with us. I have to say we had a wonderful time, also because these kids were amazing. It was a great group of students, very mature, responsible. They never complained, and they adjusted at everything. They were amazing. So I'm very proud of my students. They really are. I want to give them a hand. But I would also like to thank them for taking the time out of their busy schedule to make this presentation. They all take AP exams, sports, clubs, activities. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. But they were willing, more than willing, to do this for you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. And here we go with Aiden Dearborn. Come up. Luke Pedretti, as we say in Italian, Pedretti, that's how it should be said, and Dimitri Parrish.
Is this thing on? Hello? Oh, hi. Buonasera, or good evening. My name, as Ms. Stefanelli has said, is Aiden Dearborn, and I am thrilled to be speaking with you guys today about our trip that we took this past February with our wonderful Italian teacher. I wanted to start off with saying an overview of our trip, because this country is a very large country, so it's kind of a little challenging to know where everything is. So we start in the north, where Venice is, and we follow our line down to the middle of the country, where Rome is, where we end our trip. And we're going to be talking about all these cities on this presentation today. So we start in the water city of Venice, and Venice is known for its water. Around 90% of the whole city is actually covered in this water, with not that much cars. They mainly use boat transportation, and they have this very awesome system of boats where it's just like our New York subway, but not underground. It's more above water. You can see pretty views, and we loved to use this during our time here. We also had amazing food in Italy, but we wanted to highlight the Italian dinner that we had in Venice. It consisted of a salad, a pasta, pollo or chicken, and a dessert as well. We even had gelato as well, and that goes for every single night on our trip. So I wanted to highlight a couple places that we went to in Venice. One of them is the Museo di Palazzo Ducale. This is the palace that the king resided in when Venice was not a part of Italy, and it was more of like an independent. Thank you. I loved this place because of its beautiful architecture, its beautiful art, gilded walls. It's just stucco paintings on the wall, and a lot of that gold that you see, I think it's the middle picture on the slide, is real. They didn't really go back inside of it and replace it. because they wanted to keep the authenticity. There's also a prison that is connected to the palace where we um, also went to as well. You can see on this picture over here that we needed to use flash photography because in the actual prison, they did not have any lights, so it was not good to be there. So we also were able to experience a glass blowing demonstration. So you can see in the photos over there that our demonstrator used a technique where he blew into a funnel to create the actual shape of the glass, and he used tools on the side to create the designs of it. And these arrange in so many different colors, and we are, because of the actual, because of how expensive the glass is, we weren't able to take photos inside. So the picture that you see in the middle is a stock photo, but it's a very good representation of what the actual store or facility looked like. And we were able to purchase some jewelry, some glass at a discounted price, so we are very grateful for that as well. So as we move from Venice, we go to the little town of Padua. And
Hey,
Padua.
sorry, question. How did you get into Venice? You fly into Venice?
Oh, so we flew into Venice on a very foggy day, and I remember going down this very long escalator, and I was thinking, oh, we're probably going to take, probably like a bus over to it. But no, we actually board a boat. So we actually took a boat into Venice. In the fog. So when the fog lifted, you could see this beautiful architecture. You could see people, locals buying their goods for the week. You could see kids in the courtyard. It was very awe-inspiring because you don't really get that here.
Do they actually
in
have
the
any
US.
streets there or no?
They
No,
do have
they're-
side corridors, but it's mainly for walking. So like I said before, there's not really that many cars. There's only cars when you enter the bridge, and it's a little roundabout. So a lot of it is small corridors with a lot of shops on the side for walking, and also your boat transportation as well that a lot of locals use to get around. So we continue to Padua, where it is known for its Basilica di San Anthony. But before we actually entered the basilica, we were pretty hungry. So we actually stopped at a market, which was very cool because you could literally buy any type of food here. You could get your meats, you could get your prosciutto, you could get fruits, vegetables, you could even get like bread and stuff like that. So that was really cool. And we also got to use our language, the Italian language that we spoke in class, which is very cool as well. Scary at first, but as the week progressed, we got a lot better at using it. So after that, we went to the basilica. And as like many basilicas on this trip, the architecture of the basilica is absolutely amazing. And we were able to go inside, explore the many different corridors that it has, the many squares that it had, and we were able to partake in praying as well. Sadly, we were not able to take any photos inside of Basilica because it's a public space for religious purposes. So as we move on from Padua, we stop in the city of the art, which is Florence, which I'm going to move off the podium for my friend Lucius to take the stage.
Thank you.
Hello. So, as we said before, my name is Luke Pedretti, and so after Venice, we took a 2-hour bus ride down to Florence. And when we got to Florence, we checked into the hotel, wake up the next day, and the first main event that we were talking about was like a leather store. So we went to like one of the first leather stores in Italy. It was very historic, and my friend Dimitri over here, he was wearing an authentic leather jacket from Florence.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So then, after that, we took a tour around some of the basilicas over there and the like Santa Croce. And as you can see, some of the pictures on the top, that's like there are like some photos online where you see of that big basilica that like towers over all the buildings. That's what it was. Like you could see it from like the mountain. It was absolutely insane. And then later that night, once again, we had gelato because we have to have gelato. And once again, like in Venice, we went to like this humongous marketplace where you can get whatever you needed, food, like anything. And then while we were doing that, we were exploring some of the stores around Florence. So, for example, like there were many clothing stores there because Florence is known for their jewelry and clothing. And along with the basilicas, like I said before, some of the art in that area was very baroque in a way, kind of. And then we explored the city, obviously, and there was a Ponte Vecchio. I forgot if that's on the next slide, but Ponte Vecchio was that big bridge that connects the city of Florence across that river, which historically was very important because it was the only bridge that Mussolini didn't knock down to allow his ships to cross during World War II. And over here, this was the Accademia di Michelangelo, which is it's a famous museum in Florence where you can see the David and many other historic sculptures. And along with that's the real David. Around the city of Florence, there are many fake Davids to just represent like his main like idea. These are some of the pictures of like Florence at night. The area was very lit up, and that one in the top right is the one of the basilica. It towers over every other building, as you can see. So then I believe, yeah. So this was Ponte Vecchio. That's the bridge that Mussolini allowed his ships to cross through. And it was very lit up. On top of it, there's a ton of jewelry shops, which is very cool. And then after Florence, we took a bus ride down to Assisi. And Assisi is a city in the mountains, it's very cool because of the amazing view that you can get below. And then we explored the city. We visited the Basilica of St. Francis, which is actually two basilicas. It's two churches on one, which consisted of two different styles of art, which are Gothic and Romanesque. Other than that, we went to purchase souvenirs at many local shops, and we had a great time because it was just really fun being in Assisi. We also went to a cafe, the food there was really good. Like there was fresh baked bread, everything like that. It was really good. And then after that, we would eventually take a coach bus ride down to Rome, which I will hand it off to my friend Dimitri over here.
How was the pizza there? Was it different or?
It was better.
Oh wow. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So to finish off the presentation, we have the last two major cities here, which are Rome and the Vatican City. So for day 6, we got to wander the streets of Rome, learn about the history of the Colosseum. I'll show more photos of it in a second. We also got to tour the Italian Capitol building, explore the Vatican, visit San Pietro's Basilica, and visit the Trevi Fountain and learn how to make a pizza. We did a lot. We did a lot that day. So for the Colosseum here, you can see it's in tatters compared to how it used to be, including the roof got blown off in an earthquake centuries prior, but it still stands today. The reason for that being that it's made out of a unique kind of concrete that the Romans used, where they mix salt water in the limestone, and it makes it a lot more structurally strong. As for the Vatican, It was probably the most beautiful thing we saw throughout the entirety of the trip. Every single hall, every single step, every single moment that we were able to take in, it was filled to the brim with different kinds of artworks, paintings, mosaics, statues, anything that you could possibly think of was in there. And for day 7 of the trip, we visited the Roman soccer stadium, which you can see in the bottom middle. We toured the Modern Art Museum in Rome, went to the oldest gelateria in Rome, which I'll talk about more in a bit. Yes. Ate at a local food market, made a brief trip to the Pantheon, which is in the bottom right, and shopped at Piazza Navona. So at this gelateria named Fossi, we got to see exactly how gelato is made, the special processes behind it. So gelato, compared to normal ice cream, it's churned a little bit slower, has greater amounts of milk, uses eggs, and is served at a slightly higher temperature, which gives it a better texture and flavor. If you ever notice how ice cream, like it's always frozen, it's rock solid, and then when you try and put it in the bowl, it's frustrating. None of that with gelato. None of that. As for what we got out of this experience, we got to meet new people from different parts of the world. There was actually a whole other group of kids from California, from an all-girls private Catholic school that was with us for the whole time. We also got to get an opportunity to use Italian, as you know, on Long Island there's not too many. We got to experience the Italian culture and its history. And as previously mentioned, make new friends from other tour groups, as well as get to eat authentic Italian food.
Did you feel comfortable speaking Italian?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of got embarrassed at a gas station because I forgot how to say croissant, but it's all right. We don't talk about that. Aiden had to bail me out. Finally, we would love to thank our lovely teachers, Miss Stefanelli and Miss Protaro, for allowing us to, guiding us through our trip. The board for approving the trip in the first place, otherwise it wouldn't have happened, and our parents for allowing us to go, because you always know they have executive approval. As well as our trip advisor, Matteo, who we put a picture of on screen in all his glory. Yeah, Matteo was perfect. We need to bring him back.
So was he with you through all the cities, or?
Yeah, the whole time.
Excellent.
I thought we'd get like a different person halfway through. No, he was there the whole time. Okay.
And is the gelato outside? I don't see it in here. You didn't bring us any? Okay.
It's international shipping. It's a little bit costly.
Excellent. So you had a great time?
Yes.
You had an awesome time?
Absolutely. We would absolutely go back.
Amalfi Coast next, please.
Oh, wow. Excellent job. Thank you for sharing your trip with us. All right, we have a second presentation, a little closer to home, but also unique. We had a number of educators who were able to go to Paris Island for boot camp this year. And I'd like to introduce some of those educators who are with us tonight. We have Mr. Blair, Dr. Hender, and Mr. and Mrs. Tamio. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta, Board of Education trustees, Dr. D'Elia, and members of the cabinet. I have to tell you, our trip was not as exciting as the trip to Italy. There was no gelato on a daily basis.
I never asked for seconds. Did have a bridge though.
But what we did experience was a lot of learning also, and another memorable experience for all of us as we went to the educators workshop at Paris Island in South Carolina. So we did have some water surrounding us, alligators also. So what is the educators workshop? This has been a common question that has been asked, but for 4 days and 3 nights, we were able to experience exactly what it is like to be a Marine recruit. Marine recruits go through the process for 13 weeks. We got a very abridged short version. At times, we got to be treated like Marines. We were able to stand on the yellow footprints, which is where every Marine that goes through the recruiting depot there gets to stand as they are first brought to Parris Island. And through that experience, we were able to see and have an experience where each and every one of us came away with a different lens of what it was like to be a leader, be a Marine, and see someone who may have the opportunity to speak to students in the future that would like to go into the Marine Corps. So we're able to participate in a bunch of activities, and I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Blair, who's going to tell you about the first couple of activities.
Thank you. Good evening. Oh, too short. Good evening, everyone. We can go to the next slide. So, as like Mr. Hender had said, Dr. Hender had said, this was a unique opportunity that each and every one of us got to experience going to Parris Island and visiting, going behind the scenes to see exactly what takes place. And as an educator, for me, as in overseeing the counseling center and guidance for the whole entire South Huntington district, I am constantly going to visit colleges and seeing what they have to offer, looking at the BOCES programs that they have to offer to our students. And we quite often have a group of students every single year that graduate that want to dedicate themselves to a higher calling, which would be to join the military, and particularly the Marines. I was never able to communicate with parents or bond with parents to talk to them what it was like. So that's why when I went, I was looking at it from the lens of, okay, what am I going to take back to the South Huntington School District, and how am I going to communicate to this parent when I get that phone call? My child wants to join the Marines or the Navy. I am able now to have a great conversation with them and show them slides about what it was like when we went to boot camp. And while we were there, we were looking at trying to make similarities between what we have here in South Huntington and what the Marines offer. So the Marines, we make Marines. South Huntington, we make Wildcats. We win our nation's battles for the Marines. We prepare students for today's challenges. We see that day in and day out. When students go to school, they are constantly learning, going on field trips, having a great experience here at South Huntington, and it's a beautiful thing. And also, for the Marines, we develop quality citizens. For the South Huntington school districts, we develop college and career-ready Wildcats. So we were trying to make a lot of similarities between what we have here and what the Marines offer when you enter Parris Island. Just so that you know, we weren't just there eating gelato and having 5-course meals. No, we were up at 0500 hours, which, 5 o'clock in the morning. The bus, we would eat a quick breakfast, and then we would board the bus in the dark to go to Parris Island. And when I say that they had events for us planned the whole entire day, there was not a moment where we would be able to rest or go home and shower and get ready for dinner. No, we were in the trenches throughout the whole entire day, so you could see exactly what our schedule looked like throughout the time while we were there.
This is just done every year, Mr. Blair, or how do they do it? Do they offer it multiple times a year, or it's just one?
So they offer it one time a year for certain school districts, and again, they like to see, with South Huntington in particular, because we open the doors to the military to come in, and they appreciate that. And so they invited us to come to see, saying, well, you open our door, your doors are open for us to come, so we want to open our doors to you. So that's why we were able to go and visit and have the opportunity to visit Parris Island.
Were there other groups there at the time, or just?
There were other groups. So there were a handful of schools from Delaware and I believe Maryland and Pennsylvania. And so we were able to bond and to connect and talk about educational conversations, because you put a bunch of educators together. We're going to talk education for a few. So it was very interesting to have everyone together.
I'd just like to add that I was up a little bit earlier than them to get myself ready, so 4:30 for me. So I got the nice female perspective there. If you take a look at some of these photos, this is what we did on the first day. That picture in the middle actually is me making the phone call home, so that's the first thing that the recruits will do when you get to Parris Island. This was a special experience for me because my brother is actually a Marine, so he's a gunnery sergeant in the Marines. And I was on the receiving end of that phone call 11 years ago when he stepped on those yellow footprints and called home. So that was definitely interesting to jump into his shoes and have drill instructors yelling at me and trying to read a script and call my mom. So we were able to do that, and that was a lot of fun to just put ourselves in the Marine shoes and what the recruits go through. That
Have your
picture.
phones with you at this time, or they take your phones from you? Or?
We did have our phones at this time. There were times where they took our phones away from us when we saw some classified things, but at this point, we were able to have our phones. We were able to take pictures and film everything from this day. That picture on the top is us on the bus right before we met our drill instructors. So that was interesting because that is the first thing that happens to the Marines, that they have to put their heads down on the bus, and then the drill instructors pretty much greet them, and from here on out, they are listening to everything that the drill instructors say. So we met our drill instructors, we had to run off the bus, and then the picture right below it is us standing on the actual yellow footprints that every Marine, that every individual that becomes a Marine stands on those yellow footprints. So that was really special. They gave us the speech, the welcome speech, and from there, we actually all took this away. We thought this was special, that they get rid of that I mentality and you become we as a team. You no longer refer to each other by your names, and you refer to each other as recruits. So from there, we're pretty much all the same. It's a level playing field. And it was raining pretty hard, so we were standing there trying to listen and understand everything they were saying while they were yelling at us, but it was a lot of fun. It was welcoming. It was more welcoming than I thought it would be. I was really nervous at this point because I'm not very, I'm like, I don't know if this is up my alley, but this was a lot of fun. The picture of us in the barracks at the top, so you'll see that they had their barracks pretty perfect and ready for us. Everything was folded just perfectly. Their towels were folded really nice, and the beds were made really crisp because they knew there were going to be visitors. So that's where they would stay. We did not stay there, although we would like to, pretend that we did. But we stayed in a hotel, so they stay over there. What was special about this trip was that one of the educators from Baltimore, her son actually happened to be at Parris Island at the same time, and we happened to just tour his barracks, which was really interesting. She saw his footlocker and his name on there. So it was really special for her to be like, oh my goodness, like it was a piece of her son that she hasn't seen for a long time. And then again, those were our drill instructors. Our senior drill instructor was in the middle. He had the black belt, and then there were two others, a male and a female drill instructor, and they stayed with us the entire trip. And they had us doing some physical activity. Here is us doing some physical activity. So you will see Dr. Hender in the top. We had to get that barrel over a very large, what would you call that? Yeah, it was pretty much like an obstacle course, and there were different challenges that we had to complete. And we had to swing on ropes. We had to swing across things. There was a lot of physical activity. This is definitely something new for me. That wall right there, we were able to rappel off of it. So they taught us how to tie knots, and then you can rappel down.
It's pretty high up.
It is pretty high up. We actually didn't get to rappel off of it because it was raining that morning, so they said that it was too wet for us to, they didn't want anyone to slip, so I was a little disappointed about that, but it was very high, so I don't know, maybe they saved me, but.
I heard there was a video floating around of Dr.
Did we
Hender's.
hear at a video?
He
We have a
scaled the
lot
wall
of
with one leg.
videos. Yes, there. Yes.
Okay, can't wait to see that again.
There are a few videos. Actually, a lot of the events looked easier than I'm like, oh, I got this. I can swing on a rope. And it was definitely a lot more challenging than I anticipated. And the Marines just do it with ease. So made me feel a little bit worse about myself when they're able to do it so easily.
That video will be part of a fundraiser next year. We'll raise a lot. This right here, again, when we were tired after the first evening, we got back late at night. We were up again at 0500 hours, downstairs, ready to go for a whole entire day of another group of activities to do.
So we got to really immerse ourselves in what it means to become a Marine. And what you're seeing in front of you here is the Marine Run. At this point, the recruits are now Marines, and they get to partake in a collaborative run with not only themselves, the people that they've been through the 13-week training with, their drill instructors, but also there was a 3-star general that was present, and they oversee the whole operation. So going back to the I and the we, it was a we mentality. We got to see generals and sergeants and every drill instructor and every battalion that was present run together on this run. And what I don't think what Mrs. Tomio got to allude to was the absolute awesome band that plays in the background and kind of cheers it on. And there's this camaraderie, and we got to really witness and be a part of that. And as far as the leadership, it really showed us that, there's students that come through your classroom that struggle. There's Marines that got there, they struggle. They're not Marines. When they get there, they are weak, nimble-minded, scared, kind of like the 4 of us when we got there. It was a challenge for them, but they leave, and this we mentality, although some of us didn't get over the wall, those Marines all get over the wall. And this run really is that end result of the team that they build. And you get to see the Marines, and we got to really enjoy and sit down and have chow with them. It was not gelato, it was chow. And they go through their journey, where they come from, all walks of life, all 4 corners of our country. And they talk to us about why they chose or why their family supported their journey to become a Marine and how they didn't think they could make it. These students that are there, and you have to think about that in the sense that most of them are 17, 18 years old. They get there, and their extension of their body, their 207th bone of their body is their cell phone. They strip that from them. They have no contact to the outside world. Their heads go down, they cross over the bridge of Paris Island, and they're screamed at, and they're stripped down and built back up. So as an educator, really got to enjoy the process of how to embody what leadership looks like and how to turnkey that to our students. And I joke, we got commands when we got there. When they say ears, you say open, and that means you're listening. And when they say snap, your eyes, we say snap, and you look at the drill instructor. So I joke to my students, and I say ears instead of doing my commands to get the attention of my class, we do different things now, and it just teaches you. And we were really fortunate to be a part of the journey to watch these children, these young adults, become Marines, and that's what this was all about. So, thank you. I have 2. So I have the historical part as well, I forgot. So I'm the history buff. I get to enjoy the museum that we got to. So we got to speak to a gentleman that was in Vietnam, and his helicopter went down, and he was on the islands for 17 days, 17 or 18 days, eating monkey and eating leaves and bark and bugs, and he had nobody to help him except the gentleman that he was with. And they talked about that throughout the museum and how, once again, that team mentality, they weren't every man for themselves, and they were able to help each other succeed and survive. It was really the survival mode that they were put into in the jungles of Vietnam, and they were able to come home. And that gentleman runs part of this museum, and he got to share his story with us and his main takeaway. And he walked around and really focused in on our eyes and let us know that it was his team that got him out of there. It wasn't him who came up with a creative plan. It was his, the gentleman that he was with. So the museum was really awesome, and we got to see every aspect and facet of the history of what it means to become a Marine.
Can the public go to that museum, or?
The public cannot go to it, but if you have somebody graduating from Paris Island, once you're at the facilities, you're able to tour the facilities with your Marine. Yeah, it's not open to the public in that sense, but I believe they said that in Washington, D.C., they do have the Marine Museum there.
Friday, when we think we're about to go home, this is, we have more that we have to do, and it was still an excellent experience.
Yeah, minute by minute was planned out for us, and we were pretty exhausted at this point. But this was probably the best part of the entire trip because we were able to see the new Marines now see their families again and graduate and officially wear their dress blues, and it was really touching. So we started with the morning color ceremony, and the general was there with his wife and family, and they had the other families of the Marines that had just graduated. There were 206 Marines that had graduated that day. It happened to be a smaller class size, if you will, of Marines for this week that we were there. These graduations happen every single week, which I find amazing. There were not any female Marines for this class. They were just males. So, we got a little bit more of an intimate experience, and we were able to see and meet a lot of those family members. And I just remember what it was like attending Paris Island, watching my brother graduate. And I just remember how special that was, and I could really relate to the families that were there. That is the general on the bottom left picture. He was really, really nice. And actually, his wife is a teacher. She's an educator. So she found it, she loves when the educators come on the workshop because we are able to actually attend their house, and she's able to speak to all of us. And, she enjoys meeting educators from around the world. So we thought that that was pretty awesome that she's an educator. You'll see the honor grads. So in the middle picture on the bottom, this is pretty amazing to me, is that out of all of the Marines that were graduating, they pretty much rank them on everything that they had done. And the few for each, I think it was battalion it was, each of them, they were the best of the best pretty much, and they were honored for that, and they were given a plaque and other awards for being the best at whatever it was, whether it was physical fitness or a sharpshooter, anything like that. So they were honored for all of those things. And then you'll see us enjoying the graduation ceremony on the bottom. Those were the Marines that were with us and our chaperones, and a nice group picture of all the educators from New York on the top. So there are some common misconceptions about joining the military, and I know that my brother did experience some of these, so we just wanted to highlight some of it. Pretty much a lot of the times we're hearing that maybe joining the military is your plan B, maybe that you weren't able to get into college or whatever it is, and that isn't necessarily true. I think we can all say that we met some of the most brilliant people that I've ever spoken to, some of the most well-trained and well-spoken individuals that were they were masters of their craft, no matter what it was that we went to, whether it was learning about tying knots or it was learning about going to the shooting range or whatever we did. They were all absolute masters of their craft, and they were so well trained. So we were pretty impressed by that. A lot of people think if you join the military that you are going to see combat and go to war, that maybe people who join the military didn't perform well academically, or they come from broken families. And while some of these stories may be true, it is really not the be-all, end-all. It's not the case for everybody, and you have to be extremely smart to be some of the pilots that are there, and there are a lot of different jobs. And in the future slides, we'll talk about some of the opportunities that students have if they end up joining the military. And I think Mr. Tomio said it, that there is like a military mold, and we were able to see that there really is no perfect Marine. When we got there, there were recruits there that we were pretty surprised that they were actually recruits. We're like, wow, I can't believe that they're going to be able to make this, and especially after getting yelled at for the first couple hours, I was like, oh my goodness. But, they do, and they all make it through, and everybody has their own internal motivation, and that it's okay to fail. That mentality really keeps everybody going, and it's okay to fail, but the only way you fail is if you give up on yourself. And that was something that we all took away, is that, you never want to give up on yourself. You want to just keep telling yourself you can do it, and that's what those drill instructors really tell them and motivate them to keep going.
So, really quickly, in South Huntington School District, we have a diverse group of students that graduate every single year. We have around a 93-94% overall graduation rate. We have 86 to 87% of the students that do attend a 2-year, 4-year college. This year, we have five or six students that will be entering into the military. It's nice to know that we have something, South Huntington has something for all students. And even though this is a tiny slither of the students that actually enter into the military, it's good to know that we are able to experience what they are going to go through, and so this way we can talk to families about it. And again, you can emergency opportunities for students if they do choose to go into the military or whatever branch that they decide to go into if they enter. And opportunities for students. There we go.
I've sat on that side of the table too, so I know it's time to wrap it up and to get us moving here. So as you can see, we are all very passionate about this trip. It was a wonderful experience. There are many opportunities for students. In fact, when they come out of their 13 weeks of being a recruit, there are over 300 different job options that they can have, and we all came away with different takeaways. For me, the takeaway, as Dr. Daly alluded to, is that everyone will experience failure. For the record, I did eventually make it over the wall, but and we with help. We'll save that for another day. But you know, it does show that experiencing that failure and then building up from that is an important lesson to learn. Some of the other takeaways that we did have. Tuition obviously paid for, the opportunity to complete your 4 years and walk away without any debt or loans was a big, huge piece of what we were able to take away. So thank you very much for the experience. It was wonderful. We are excited to share this with our students and those that we come in contact with that may have additional questions about the military and specifically the Marines. Thank you.
Do all of our students who join the Marines, do they all go to Parris Island? Because I know there's different locations, but for ours, where our school is, everybody goes to Parris Island? Okay.
Yes, all of ours here go to Parris Island, and then there's for the West out in yep.
Any other questions? All right. Excellent. All right. Excellent trip. Thank you so much, Mr. Blair, Dr. Hender, Ms. Tamio, and Mr. Tamio. Great job and really informative. All right. Mr. Conway, you always have a tough act to follow. Thank you. Did you bring gelato for us, or?
Wish I had.
Huh.
I really do.
All right, so Mr. Conway will begin our public hearing of the budget presentation, and a lot of this material you've probably seen before. It's repackaged a little differently today. Try to give you the highlights of it, and public hearing is really just that. It's a hearing for the public, so rather, where our budget presentations before were mainly for the board, this is directed at the public, and if anyone want to address the board afterwards regarding the public hearing and any questions about the budget, we'll take that opportunity at that point in time. So we'll open the public hearing. Mr. Conway, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Good evening, everybody. So tonight is our 5th budget meeting. As Mr. Ciapetta said, this is our public hearing that we're going to run through tonight. Much of this information, as he said, is just a high-level overview of what we've been discussing the last couple months, just to give a recap package of what we have put into this budget. So going back to our first presentation a few months ago, the budget process started with all the building level folks, department heads, main office staff, looking into what they need in terms of supplies, materials, curriculum, things of that nature. And they began their process back in the fall, putting that into our software. And as that program evolved, it became fine-tuned over the next couple months, both by building administration, district office up here, and it ultimately led to the expenditure side of the budget, the package that we need to offer for the district and for the students. Soon after that process, we look at the revenue side, kind of simultaneously as we begin to get state aid numbers, as we begin to see what the potential levy could be, and other revenue sources that obviously factor into that side of the budget. So key budget highlights that we're presenting here. We're proud to present right now a 2.4% tax levy. As the slide says, it's a $1.2 million savings to the taxpayer versus the maximum allowable compliant formula of 3.42%. A couple other things which were accomplished in this budget. We have decreased reliance on usage of our reserves and our fund balance, that's our savings account, I'll get into those numbers in a second. We will also speak to some of our bus replenishment. And then jumping down to the next item here, this current year we're living in, we have gone out with a Stimson Late Bus pilot. In order to continue to gauge information on the worthiness of that and the ridership and that kind of information, we felt it was necessary to continue that pilot one more year. In the vein to also gain further information, we wanted to introduce a pilot also at Silas. And then, of course, the last two go without saying. We just want to increase our safety of our students, or maintain the safety of our students, I should say, as well as the facilities through our district-wide capital projects. If we look at the revenue side of things, so that top number, the tax levy itself, just about 126.6 million. That represents the 2.4% I spoke to a moment ago. The state aid number is 75.8. I'll address that in 1 second. Then we have the other revenues of 10.7, and that's made up of things we've spoken to in the past, such as district billing. We bill other districts for health services provided, things like rental income, interest income, the employee share of the health contribution towards the district, things like that. Reserve usage of 1.5 million and appropriated fund balance of 2.7. The sum total there you'll see is a revenue picture of 217.5 million. One thing I want to mention, since the board had adopted the budget at the last meeting, we got a slight bump in the state aid, so that number is slightly different from the last presentation by roughly 90,000, and the corresponding offset to that is a decrease in the reserve usage. So those numbers, if you look back at prior
Mr.
presentations.
Conway, if I could just stop you there 1 second. We were, by our local politicians and our consultants, all felt that we were going to receive about 650,000 or so, and we were a bit disappointed that we only received a little bit under $90,000. So, and it put us in a very tough spot, as you know, because the board had to adopt the budget prior to having the final numbers from the state. So that was a bit problematic, and so we are looking within our budget, our operating budget for next year, to find those savings that we anticipated we would have. So,
thank you very much, Dr. Leah, for adding that information. The next slide is transportation. Again, this is a slide that, if you've been following us the last few months, you've seen this before. Part of the budget is we're earmarking $1.2 million for the purchase of new buses. That's in an ongoing effort to replenish our fleet, bring it up to speed with newer vehicles. And within that number, we're looking for 6 vans and 4 66-passenger buses. And if we change gears over to our facilities planning. So in that top paragraph, you'll see 2 numbers. The $1.2 million, that references things just from a day-to-day operational functionality point of the district. Things like service and repair contracts, maintenance cost, waste removal, things of that nature. The second number you'll see, the $4 million, that's the actual transfer to capital that was going back a few months. The facilities committee referred to the board, and then they adopted it last month. That $4 million transfer to capital is represented in the projects that are outlined below. The north boilers at the high school, we're looking to replace those. We have science room renovations, as well as south cafeteria renovations. Changing gears to Silas Wood, we have door replacement, ground repairs, as well as gym floor resurfacing for that school. Then if we look at Stimson Middle School, we're looking to repair the breezeway, the hallway that connects the 2 sides of the building. If you've seen it, it looks like a unispan or a bridge, as well as gym floor replacement over at Stimson. Memorial, if you are not already aware, it is a building on Pigeon Hill Road next to the library. That is a building the district owns and obviously must keep an eye on and maintain it where appropriate. On that property itself is an actual sump that in the recent months with this historic rainfall, we've realized it is no longer working to its capacity. So we are forced to put in some money there to maintain not only our property, but the property of the community and the residents in that immediate vicinity. We're also looking to do some scoreboards at Memorial Field for the athletic teams, as well as removal of the tennis courts and some surrounding concrete that is beyond repair and beyond its useful life, as well as putting some funds into bathroom and general allocation of that building. Just an overall snapshot of what that budget means. Again, some of this is repetitive, but a 2.4% tax levy increase. I will emphasize again, it's a $1.2 million savings to the community versus the maximum allowable, which the board could have gone out with a 3.42%. That brings our total budget to 217.5 million, and dollar to dollar budget-wise is a 4.04%, but again, the levy itself is only 2.4%. On this next slide here, just again, some high-level recap. On the far left side, you'll see the 24-25, that's a proposal we're speaking to tonight. The next column is the 23-24, the year we're living in, and in the two columns thereafter are the dollar change and percentage change. So again, those top three numbers we've seen on the prior slide, the tax levy, the state aid, and then the other revenue sources. That brings our total for 213.2 million. Then the number down below is 1.5 million in reserve usage that we've spoken to earlier, as well as the appropriated fund balance. A key thing to highlight on this slide is the third column over, the dollar change for the reserves and appropriated fund balance. If you look at those together, we're saving nearly $700, or I should say relying less in our budget development by $700,000 versus a prior year. So that is really an accomplishment to be able to use that much less than our savings account. So then you'll see the totals at the bottom. It's a budget to budget increase from 209 this year to 217 next year, which is 8.4 million and 4.04%. Bringing up this next slide here. So the budget vote itself, the budget that you're going to vote on in terms of the numbers, that is the first proposition on the ballot. The second proposition is this language up here, which will be on the website after tonight's meeting. And Mr. Ciapetta has spoken to this in the past. So you may remember back in May of 2022, the district, with the voters' approval, had sold two properties, one located at called Central Field and the other one at 2 Melville Road. The total profit, or proceeds I should say, yielded from that was about $2.5 million. At that time, the intent was to use those funds for deconstruction and rebuilding of the portables at some of the elementary buildings. Due to the cost prohibitive nature and the inflationary times we've lived in the last several years, that is no longer feasible. So what this proposition requests from the voters is the right to repurpose that money, that $2.5 million, to put it towards the boiler replacement at the high school. The cost on the prior slide I had was approximately $800,000 to $900,000. The total boiler cost at the high school is over $3 million. So it would be that initial piece from the transfer to capital, as well as using this prior funding. Okay, just a recap of the goals we've spoken to in the past. Of course, the board, the district, the teachers, the cabinet, we are always looking to strive for excellence. That means pushing the staff and the students to be the best they can and find what drives them as individuals. Our job is to then provide the students with learning opportunities that meets both their academic needs as well as what they may need social and emotionally. Where applicable, we want to identify and close achievement gaps and then explore opportunities if they arise that could help us with community partnerships. We've mentioned in the past we have a Northwell Health relationship. It's pretty nominal cost, and it's helped some of our families with resources they may not otherwise have had access to. So anything that comes to mind, we will always entertain if it makes sense. Fiscal sustainability, as I mentioned to on the prior slides, we've been able to, in this development cycle between reserve and fund balance, to decrease our reliance on those two items alone by $700,000 or thereabouts. And then again, the last item we've spoken to through our facilities committee, through just the initiatives in terms of keeping the campus bright, safe, clean, inviting. You want the students to walk in each morning, feel like it's a happy place to be. And that's the goal of that committee and ultimately the board. And the last slide we have for you tonight is the date, May 21st, 2 weeks from now. The budget vote itself for both the Proposition 1 and 2, as well as candidates up for election. And that vote this year is from 2 to 9 p.m. That is the end of the presentation. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Also, we have our trustees election that night. As you mentioned, we have 3 candidates running for 3 spots. We have our incumbent, Mr. Scragg, Ms. Meyer, and Ms. LaCara, who couldn't be with us tonight. She's recovering from a minor procedure. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anyone in the audience like to address the board on the budget? Okay. Going once, twice? Yes, sir. You can come up to the microphone and please state your name.
I'm Bruce Leslie, and I live in Melville.
Great.
I've lived in District 13 all my life. Graduated from Whitman.
Oh,
So,
congratulations. Thank you.
but I have a lot of questions
Okay.
about the budget.
We'll give you some answers.
I hope so. You did last year, Mr. Vito was kind enough to answer. But we are here, we appreciate everybody's input, the time they put in for the budget and everything. But isn't it time to look at the budget where we can save money? Right? We don't need a 2% raise. I'm sure everybody here is looking at it going, 2%, 2% here, 3% for the town, the county, the state. They want to change the retirement system, which is going to put a big burden on the district. I mean, we look at some staffing, and I know other districts have looked at it. Do we really need 5 assistant principals at the high school at Whitman? I think that's an assistant principal to watch the office. According to the papers, there's 40 security people assigned to Whitman.
I don't know if that's the correct number, but
I'm just going by what's on the documents that were given out. In fact, this is the first year that the budget, I went through the website everywhere. I can't find line-by-line items in the budget.
we can get
there-
that for you if you request it.
Okay. You know, I mean, years ago, there was, I think 3 years ago, it was in the budget to put greenhouses, build greenhouses. One in Stimson and one at Whitman. Where are they? You know, we have staff at Whitman that, you have 40 security. You have main office staff and clerical staff. Right? How many students are at Whitman?
2,000.
There's 2,000 students? A little more than when I graduated.
It's a big building. A lot going
Yeah,
on.
I've been through the whole building.
Oh.
So, but that's, I mean, that's what I'm looking at.
No,
I think that,
okay.
you know, there should be some look at, and I don't want to see anybody get fired. It's not the point. The point is, it's coming out of the taxpayers.
No, I appreciate
You know.
that. No, we're very, very sensitive to that. I mean, 2 years ago, just so you know, we I think for the first time probably in the history of the district, we had a flat tax levy increase. We had never done that before. Last year, I think the increase was around 1.5%, which was well below we're allowed to do under the levy. This year it is more. It's 2.4%, but it's also lower than neighboring districts and also lower than we were legally allowed to do. We're in a different position this year. We weren't, you know, we'd certainly like it to be lower, but as Dr. D'Elia said, we were expecting to get another $750,000 in state aid, which didn't happen.
Right.
You know, as to the security, you know, I don't know if there's 40 guards there at one time. I'd have to check on that. I mean,
Well, I'm sure it's not all one time,
Yeah.
but, you know, that's 40 assigned there. That's, you know.
well, there's a lot of, I
Oh,
mean,
they're
it's a
not-
big building.
We don't have 40 assigned at one time. We have 40 security guards within the pool. And because not everybody can work full time, so we have to have additional. We have security guards over at the elementaries as well in Silas and Stimson.
Okay, like I said, I'm just looking at the number that's on the documents that are on the website.
Gotcha.
How
You know,
to
we
do
can
it
get you the
good.
line by line if you'd like that. You know, that's certainly,
Yeah,
you can get that.
I'll send an email to
Yeah, send it
my,
to the
my
district.
friend.
You got it.
No, we
Hey,
appreciate your
I-
concern. Listen, it's expensive to live here. We get that. I mean, we are very cognizant of that. We're doing the best that we can. As you saw, you know, we have to spend $3.5 million on boilers. That's not something you want to spend. It's not really, you know, I'm sure you don't want to replace your boiler in your house. It's
I
not
already
really.
did.
Yeah, it's
I
not
do
particularly.
2 of them.
Yeah, these are a little bigger, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
they're not particularly exciting, but we have to keep the heat on. So,
one other thing that, and I'll walk away then.
no, go ahead.
You have, no, I could go on forever with, you know, but this armed security.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
When more so is, I happened to go past Whitman one day. I went through Pominock and down just to see. And he was there, sound asleep in the back road.
Next time you see that, take a picture and contact me.
I will.
Thank you.
You know, like I said, I disagree with having anybody on the school grounds with guns. People get hurt.
Oh, I understand that. I mean, people can differ on that.
Yeah.
So I do have to
All
say,
right.
like, I think we were the first one in the town of Huntington when we implemented it last year, and nearly every district now in the town has done it. So they've followed our lead. So it's not something anyone would want to do, right? But it was necessary under these particular times. So we're going to do everything that we can to keep our students safe.
I don't disagree with you one bit. I said I'd walk away. One question.
Go ahead.
Is there a security vestibule at Whitman?
No, Whitman is a little different because we've discussed making it. It just doesn't work with the layout. We do have them in the rest of the buildings. It didn't work with respect to that layout. You'd have to build it out further. But we have next year we're going to be installing. We got a grant to install a guard booth or a welcome booth when you come up the driveway.
Yeah.
So that kind of serves the same function. So that should be installed over the summer, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I asked because I didn't see it anywhere in the budget. So that's it. Okay.
Yeah, we put it in all the other buildings, and DO is the last one that's being constructed as well. So it's almost done here.
All right. Thank you very much. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
All volunteers and staff and whatever. I'm always proud to say I came from Whitman.
What year did you graduate?
You'd rather not know.
Okay.
I'll put it this way. It's before the North Wing was built.
Okay.
So
Yeah, my mom too.
Do
Probably.
do you know what year?
My mom graduated in '64. I think it was under construction that year. So.
You got it. I'm the year before.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Be well. Okay. Anyone else would like to address the board? All right. I will close the public hearing at 8:38, and we will move on to our agenda. Take a motion to adopt the agenda. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Items E through H require one resolution for adoption. There are minutes, financial items, bids, and bills. Take a motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. The board received a communication since our last meeting from Douglas Atkins, an attorney, but also a resident and president of the South Huntington Soccer Club, and he wanted to notify the board as to a new law that's gone into effect requiring all volunteer organizations and excuse me, not-for-profits, those hosting youth sports programs, that they have to have an AED present at all events. So they were notifying the district and seeking our help in any way. So they'll have to have an AED present anytime that they have any sporting events going on. So it's a new requirement, and it is something that is it is burdensome and expensive for those local clubs. So the board will review their concerns. Moving on to new business, approval of an agreement with the town of Huntington for the loan of artwork owned by the Heckscher Museum. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Cepeda. So tonight for approval is an agreement whereby the town of Huntington agrees to loan South Huntington School District 3 pieces of art to be displayed at our new art gallery over at Walt Whitman High School. The artwork was created by Jeff Lundstedt, president of his class and a graduate of Walt Whitman High School. He was tragically killed in the Vietnam War. Purpose of this not only to showcase Jeff's art, but also to show a partnership between the district as well as the town of Huntington and the Heckscher Museum of Art, where these pieces are normally displayed.
Excellent. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Conway. It's a exciting endeavor for the district, and to display this historic artwork, also from a resident, and also to develop a partnership with Heckscher Museum and our new gallery. All right, moving on to item 2, approval of an MOU for Long Island Mental Health. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. D'Elia.
Yes, this is an opportunity that we get to join forces with Long Island University to have about 3 or 4 graduate students to support their internship, their growth, and also to support our students here within South Huntington. And I'd like to also thank Mr. Joyner for facilitating this opportunity with the district.
Mr. Joyner, anything you'd like to say? Or?
Other than this being a great opportunity, I experienced during my college career interning in the prisons when I was studying forensic psychology. And so mental health plays a big part in a sphere that we should not take for granted. So that showed me how important mental health is in various capacities and in service. So this is a great opportunity for the students. It's one that we're one of, I would say, many districts who have not been, did not receive this offer. So it's pretty prestigious, and look forward to providing this opportunity to the students. And hopefully, this grant will be renewed and provide some additional opportunities in the future. And with this being Mental Health Awareness Month, I think this fits right in, and this opportunity is pretty much right on time.
Thank you, Mr. Joyner. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item number 3 is the approval of taxing anticipation notes. Motion. Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Cepeda. So tonight for the board's consideration is a request to authorize the district to issue TANs, tax anticipation notice, in an amount not to exceed $42 million. This is an annual process we go through. This is derived from the fact that we need short-term borrowing in the fall. State aid usually comes in September, but the local tax levy, we don't get any of it. A little bit in December and then some of it into January. So it's that fall period where we need short-term borrowing. That being said, it's always our goal to borrow as little as possible, therefore reducing our interest expense accordingly.
So this is for the next school year?
Correct. This is for the 24-25 school year.
Okay. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And you, sir, you were talking about ways to save money. Well, this unfortunately is a waste of money that we have to spend because we don't get our tax returns distributed to us well. So we have to borrow money to pay our bills, because the state doesn't give us state aid timely, and our tax payments from the town come late as well. So this is an area where Albany could help us by improving the cash flow situation. We wouldn't have to spend that money.
And that's not unique to our district, but to be clear, right? I mean, that's just an issue, just the way that the payments are made to within the county, right? It's not a South Huntington problem. It's a district, multiple district problem.
It's a Suffolk County issue, and with respect to getting the property taxes, and the New York State issue with respect to getting the state aid back. So neither of it helps. Yep, we continue to advocate. We'll have a little more on that later. New business item number 4 is approval of an RFP for student transportation. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Mr. Conway again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cepeda. So tonight for board's approval is a request to accept the 24-25 RFP, the request for proposal for transportation. That was sent out several months ago. We had one respondent, which was our current provider, Educational Bus Transportation. We've had many years of service with them. They've proven to be a good partner. The costs were within our budget, and with the input from our transportation director, Ms. Laura Brothers, we're asking the board for acceptance of this RFP for the upcoming school year.
Okay, great. And what was the increase over last year?
On average, it was about a 9% increase.
Okay, so that's another cost driver of the budget, doing exactly the same, and it costs more to do exactly the same. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business item number 5 is the approval of the health services agreement between South Huntington and the Westbury Union Free School District. Is there a motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Mr. Conway.
Okay, thank you again. Tonight before you for approval is a contract between South Huntington and Westbury Union Free School District for health services. They are providing to 6 students attending the Holy Child Academy and 2 students attending St. Bridget's who reside in our district.
Okay, question for Mr. Conway. All in favor? Any opposed? And new business item 6, same type of agreement, this time between South Huntington and Manhasset. Motion. Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Mr. Conway again.
Okay, in the similar line as I just mentioned, this is between South Huntington and Manhasset. It is regarding one student attending St. Mary's High School who resides in the district of South Huntington.
All in favor? Any opposed? Adopted 5-0. Moving on to new business item 7, approval of the Workplace Violence Prevention Program. Motion. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. For the Board of Education's approval and to be in compliance with New York State Labor Law 27B is the South Huntington Workplace Violence Prevention Program. The goal of this program is to reduce the risk of workplace violence to employees and to ensure that any incident, complaint, or report of violence is taken seriously and dealt with quickly and appropriately.
Okay, Board, have any questions or comments on this? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item number 8 is a confidential agreement discussed in executive session. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg, to extend the probationary period for an employee. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution is adopted. Moving on to new business, item number 9 is approval for board members to attend the annual business dinner meeting of the Nassau Suffolk School Board Association at the Hamlet Golf and Dinner Club on May 30th. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Joyner, as already discussed. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item number 10 is the approval for a board member to attend a virtual policy workshop. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And it's adopted. Moving on to our last item of new business, recommendations for the placement of students by the Committee on Special Education, dates that are listed in February, March, April, and preschool special education dates listed February, March, and April as well. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to personnel. We have personnel schedules 2, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16, 20, and 22. Motion. Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Any questions on personnel? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. And we have personnel postings are listed. We have curriculum council minutes. We'll hold on that as Ms. Cara is not here. Our next board meeting will be on, well, actually May 14th. We have a special board meeting next week for the purpose of some emergency business as well as conducting interviews. And then May 21st will be over at Baldwin High School for our budget vote and board elections, as well as the celebration of the Michael Curtin Citizenship Awards. Comments by board members? Mr. Bronson.
I just had two, and I believe brief. The audit committee had a meeting on April 29th. As normal for our meetings, we had our claims adjuster, our internal claims adjuster reports reviewed. And I just want to thank again Sherry Diamond, who's from Serena, who's our internal claims adjuster, who came forward and did an excellent presentation for the audit committee, which is open to the public on what the internal claims adjuster does. She also showed a trend over time that the school district has continued to do better and better each year on its various claims adjuster findings. So I just wanted to put out that positive note. Also just wanted to wish all the mothers in our community and staff, et cetera, a very happy Mother's Day this Sunday.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. Other comments by board members? Ms. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. As Mr. Joyner mentioned, it is Mental Health Awareness Month in May, so the Wellness Committee met last month as well, and we did a deep dive on the nutrition program that Ms. Sheila Busey shared with us, and it really is it's spectacular what our district has been able to achieve. And Sheila was able to attend New York statewide school nutrition meeting earlier prior to our meeting and shared back out some best practices. And we do have to share that South Huntington is really the envy of the state when it comes to school nutrition programs. So thank you to Sheila and all her staff. And last week we also celebrated Food Service Worker Day, which was wonderful. And thank you again to that staff. And this week is also Teacher Appreciation Week. So there's nothing closer to home for a school board in a district than Teacher Appreciation Week. And to the best of my knowledge, all of the PTAs have been doing an absolutely fantastic job showing our educators and all of our staff how much we appreciate them in each of our buildings. So thank you to our PTA who always goes above and beyond to do that as well. And lastly, along the lines of mental health and wellness, Silas had a family wellness night last Friday that I had the opportunity to attend, and it was absolutely fantastic. We had staff members contributing their expertise on everything from mindfulness to meditation, yoga, kickboxing. The students had the opportunities to do some planting and gardening, paint rocks with inspirational sayings, make stress balls out of kinetic sand that they're able to have at their desks. And just wanted to commend the Silas staff on that, and Mrs. Janice Stair, who was our Teacher of the Year, who really spearheaded the whole effort. And I think it would be absolutely amazing if it's something that we can replicate across the buildings in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Any other board member? Mr. Scragg.
I'd just like to remind everybody that May 18th is our annual Chef in Motion Run, our 5K. It goes along with our Wellness Month. This is the physical activity piece. If you don't know what Chef is, it's the South Huntington Educational Foundation, and it is pretty much the booster club for the arts and sciences. We raise money throughout the year to do things like build the art gallery at Whitman, and so on. So the race is, or the walk, or whatever, however much of it you want to do, is on Saturday, May 18th. You can sign up online, and you kind of register by team or school teams. So I encourage you to kind of come out and join us.
Thank you, Mr. Scragg. Thank you for your service on Chef. Will you be going up James Hill, or?
I will take a picture at the starting line and walk away.
Other comments by board members? Yes, Mr. Joyner.
Only if you're not going to talk about the visit to.
Oh, I think Dr. Delia was going to talk a little, then we can join in.
Then that's fine.
We'll all
that's
join
fine.
in, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Dr. Delia.
Perfect segue. All right, last week we had a couple of special guests. We had Assemblyman Benedetto from New York State. He's actually the education chair of the state, and he visited South Huntington about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was a very, very productive meeting as he used South Huntington in a lot of his comments to his fellow assemblymen. And we also had Assemblyman Stern here as well. So he had a very good visit over at Whitman, and we were able to also visit Stimson as well. Assemblyman Benedetto was a former special education teacher, so he got a real great view of the program over at Stimson in the apartment, and he was blown away by it. And he really loved the shirt we gave him as well, so it was very important to him. But some of the things we want to share also is that there's no doubt, and speaking with superintendents in the town of Huntington, Smithtown cluster, that tough times are coming ahead. And Assemblyman Benedetto and Stern really made us aware that there's a year warning now coming from the governor, and we really have to be as creative as possible in future budgets. We're working every day on the 25-26 budget. We're working like in 3 budgets. This one, next year's, and the one after is actually, what we're doing every day. There's a conversation between Mr. Conway and different cabinet members, principals, trying to figure out how do we get through this, because we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But what Assemblyman Stern highly, highly recommended is getting together with our local politicians and superintendents and other cabinet members, board members, to really have some kind of meeting of the minds, because they really work on the budget in September. So we got to do something pretty quickly to kind of get our hands around what could possibly be coming. And, we've heard a lot of words of the new foundation aid formula that may be in effect next year. And we're not, we're hearing some of the criteria as far as what your enrollment was like 10 years ago. Did it really decline over the last 10 to 12 years? What is, what the free and reduced rate, within your district, where that stands, and how much money you have in your reserves. So those are some of the criteria that I'm hearing from many people. And but we don't know for sure what it's going to look like. But next year is, and listen, people that know me, and I joke about this a lot, is, the glass is half full with me a lot, but I'm also the superintendent, and I have to be a realist as well. And my realist hat is on right now, and we got to be real careful next year when we start preparing for looking what 25-26 is going to be like. And, we don't want to take away programs. We don't want to cut staff. That's nothing that we want to do. And we were very successful in not having to do that in next year's budget, because I think you've seen that in other school districts this year. And from what I'm gathering for next year, it's, you know, you had 10 to 12 districts looking at that over the 124. I think you're going to see a lot more of those districts next year having to make tough decisions. But like I said, we don't know what the exact formula will look like. But we really have to be mindful now, not next January, right now. So, and, you know, but it was a very, very productive meeting, and and we wanted to show him all the great things we have here. Give us money from the state, and we'll put it and invest it into our students. And we have done that with with the really nice gains that we've had in prior years here, and we've thrown it back to the community as well, and being cognizant of the taxpayer when we have a 0% levy or a 0.99%. And when other districts right now are really what they call maxing the cap, where South Huntington could have went to 3.4, but they were mindful of the community and went to 2.4. But there's numerous other districts that just went to the maximum allowable tax levy, but not us here. But we have to work together with this, so.
Thank you, Dr. Leah. And then Mr. Assemblyman Stern encouraged us to put together a legislative forum. We're gonna do that and hopefully host one for all the districts in the town of Huntington. Because this is a very urgent issue. Mr. Joyner, want to share some thoughts on the visit?
Well, I know I would like to hear from Jared as well regarding this, and I guess we'll get his opinion as well.
Yeah, he's on.
No, it was a great visit. Assemblyman Benedetto was able to really take a good immersive look at what's being accomplished here in South Huntington, engage with the students. The students were so excited to actually present to him about their projects. We're talking about the science projects that they were doing, a number of different projects that they were doing, and also to highlight the virtual enterprise presentation in that curriculum with the teacher, Ms. Stuber. It was very impressive to see the children working on programs, a program or platform that encourages them to think in a business light, to understand all facets of business education. And they did it in a way that was pretty immersive, and they all got a chance to present. And it was really great to see them present and also talk about what they've accomplished and what they've learned in that program, which will lead them into college on a much more prepared level, and also to talk about business on a level that they hadn't been prepared to do it before. So that whole visit was pretty immersive, and it was really good to see. And also we got to show off our animatage tables, and also to show what we've accomplished and how that's helped our district as well, and what we've garnered in terms of interest and also attention publicly across the board in the region regarding those achievements that we received here as well. So like I said, it was a really great experience, and this is the second time being here, which speaks to the fact that our district is accomplishing a tremendous amount. And the crux of initially interacting with him about this, or lobbying him, was about showing what's actually going on the ground in the lower, the lower state, they call it, Long Island, and showing that we're not just the Hamptons or just the Jericho, we're more than that, but we accomplish so much more in a diverse district. And I think in his 35 years of teaching, he definitely remarked that this was something very special that he saw within our school district, which was a further confirmation of all that we've achieved here. So this district has a lot to be proud of, and we will continue to work further on that in Albany, and to make sure that our district is highlighted and our voices are heard.
Thank you, Mr. Johnny. It was a great visit, as you said, and he's from the Bronx, so he doesn't really have a connection to our area. So for him to visit us twice in 5 years is really impressive. It says a lot about us. And then we had visited him in the interim in Albany to advocate for more state aid. We had compared our state aid totals to similar districts demographically, and we had made the case that we were being underfunded. He agreed, and so now this was an opportunity to show him how we've taken that additional state aid and invested in our students and in our facilities. And as you said, he was really blown away. He got to see students of all ability levels, from the Virtual Enterprise Program to the PAYS Lab, our life skills students who, what a beautiful experience that was. And I think we were all impressed by the teacher there, Ms. Kornacki, who just had amazing engagement from the students, and what a special teacher she is. So it was a great visit, and I'm sure Jared will echo some thoughts in a moment. Dr. D'Elia, you had
just one more thing. I don't want to leave out, because I'll probably get an email in 5 minutes. It's School Nurses Week as well. So we want to honor them also and all the hard work that they do. They're a very important and vital member of our staff.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I can't leave them out.
Okay. No, I thought you had one other thing. Okay. Any other comments by board members? Okay, and moving on to comments by ex officio student member, Mr. Smalian.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight I have the pleasure of talking about the importance of appreciation. So, appreciation is the cornerstone of a healthy and thriving community, particularly within an educational setting. Some of the reasons for the importance of appreciation are moral boost, professional growth, enhanced relationships, and role modeling. The reason why I mention this, as mentioned before, is this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. Now, Teacher Appreciation Week provides us with a special opportunity to express our gratitude and our gratitude for teachers for their unwavering commitment, passion, and hard work. Our teachers go, especially in this district, they really do go above and beyond every day, inspiring, guiding, nurturing the next generation of our leaders, our innovators, and our thinkers, and really the people who will one day run the world. It's essential that we take this week to not only acknowledge their efforts, but also to reflect on the profound impact they have on all of our lives, because even a lot of us in this room I'm a student, a lot of people in this room were students or are teachers and, colleagues alike. And they really do have a really special impact on students and the broader community, really. And recognizing and appreciating our teachers isn't just a gesture of kindness. It's really an essential. It's really essential in the success and well-being of our entire community. They really are the cornerstone of our entire community. And when teachers feel valued, they are more motivated and engaged to empower and continue to make a difference in the lives of their students. To be honest, the reason why I'm so well prepared for college and my future, the reason why I know what I want to do, and the reason why I want to be so involved in my community is really because of my teachers. And it's not just my high school teachers, it's really every single teacher I've had. I've been able to take away something from their class, beyond the classroom, beyond math and science. Even though those are important, they really taught me life lessons to be able to live as a productive human being, and we should be very, very proud of that in our district. As we start winding down from the year, we have a lot going on. AP exam started this week, and I know a lot of our students are stressed out, so it's good that it coincides with Mental Health Awareness Month. And I thank Mr. Blair and the counseling team for making those tests go as efficient as possible, because I know our students, even though they prepare for it all year, to sit in a room for 3 hours is very difficult, and they make it as comfortable as possible. Thank you to all the PTAs for organizing the teacher appreciation events. Some key events that are happening at Whitman to keep in mind: our principal list dinner this year. We are having, yes, you heard it right here, folks, dinner. We're having a dinner on May 29th, and we're very excited to honor those students for their hard work, and they really deserve this. And then, of course, Tuesday, March 21st. Tuesday, March 21st, we are having our Michael Curtin Citizenship Award again to honor a whole different group of students to really show how special our Whitman community is. I just want to also piggyback off of Mr. Joyner, Dr. DeLee, and Mr. Sciapetta on the pleasure I had of getting to meet these assemblymen. They really, in my opinion, they really do have our backs, or at least they said they did, which I believe they really do. We really threw some questions at them. I know certainly Dr. DeLee and Mr. Sciapetta did on behalf of our district, and they seemed very engaged with us, and they seemed so impressed, almost that they want to help us even more than they can, and we really showed the pride of our district. So we should all be very proud. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we're moving along pretty nicely. So that's all that's going on.
And you've made your college choice?
Yes, I have.
Would you like to announce?
Yeah, sure. I will be studying, hopefully, political science and some sort of business, finance, accounting. I haven't decided yet, at Tulane University in New Orleans.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We appreciate you as well. So you've done a great job this year. Any other comments by public? All right, take a motion to go into executive session, discuss some matters of personnel. Is there a motion? Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Mr. Bronson and Mr. Joyner. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, be well, everyone. That was a loud one.